Welcome back to the third video of Web Development Fundamentals with Astro Clare Technology. If you've been following along, you by now should be really comfortable with starting to understand some of the key concepts of HTML and CSS. As mentioned before, we're going to go into a little bit of JavaScript in this tutorial, and what we're going to do is toggle a dark mode and a light mode for our web page, and we're going to show you a little bit of JavaScript, a little bit of how to understand it, but we're going to have to save a deeper study of JavaScript in about episode 4 or so, maybe 5. Um, with that being said, what I've done for a future purpose to save a little bit of time when we're in this video is I saved 4 random images. They're just images of the earth and some space. So go ahead and find 4 images to make some cards. What we're going to do is have a container down here where we'll have 4 cards lined up, and we'll be able to hover over those and expand those images a little bit, and they'll have their own container. And what that is going to be used for is to showcase some of your work that you may want to put up front, or if you're a photographer, some of your images. If you're a baker, maybe a few pictures of your desserts or anything like that. That's just what we're simply going to use those 4 images for, those 4 cards for. So go ahead and download 4 images, or upload 4 images into your documents, and obviously pause the video in between there. I'm going to keep going forward here. What we're going to do is make 2 containers. I'm going to want one container on top up here and then another container down there. And we're going to work on a little bit of styling for that. All right. So what I'm going to do is do a period and then do container, and then I'm going to do the $sign, and I'm going to do the asterisk, and then I'm going to do 2. So what that is saying is make a container and increment it by 1 per container, and I want 2 containers. So if we were to do 5 containers, obviously we'll have container 1, container 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. If we did 50, obviously it'll go as much as we need it. For this tutorial though, we're just going to do the number 2, and then I'm going to add one more element, or one more class name to it, I'm sorry, and we're just going to call these container with an S, containers. Push enter, go save. Obviously we see nothing has happened. What we want to do is go to our style sheet, and right under our main, right, because we only did a little bit of styling for our main section. So right under our main, let's call those containers. All right, so let's go to containers, do our curly brackets, and we're going to set those to a height of 35 view height. Oh, should pay attention, 35 view height. And we're going to set those to a width of 70 view width. That being because you got to remember our current height in our main section is at 80 view height. So we have about, what we're going to use, 70 view height here. We're going to have some space in between those as well in a minute. And then we have our width at 70 view width, which we also have our container at 80 view width. So if we click save, we see nothing there really. That's because we're going to need to change the background color on these. And I'm going to go with the same color that we have in our socials tab, not our socials tab, but our aside container. So that's going to be this color here, that 248. I'm just going to go up here, copy that, and I'm just going to paste it inside of our containers. Do save, and then we see we have those boxes right there. It's a little hard to see because it blends in, but once we get everything lined up, it'll look just right. So in order to get these spaced out properly, let's go up to our main element, right, for our main container, and we're going to do a display of grid. So they are already spaced out from that. We're going to do align items of center, align those and the y-axis on the center, and then we're going to do a justify content center to align them on the x-axis, and now we can properly see that these are indeed spaced out properly, and we have created our containers. With that being said, there's not really much to do with the containers themselves, more so than with the information we're going to put inside of those. So inside of here, I'm going to add a paragraph with the letter P, and we're going to add some filler text that I already have saved in another document. Add whatever you please. This information, I don't even know how to speak this language, but we're going to use it, and we're going to just save it in there and just have some filler tags, and then I'm going to style the text in container one. So how am I going to do that? We're going to go under our containers, and I'm going to do container one, and then I'm going to do P for paragraph, and then I'm going to do a text text align. I want to align the text to the center just because I always like aligning my text in the center. And then I'm going to change the font size to 24 pixels just to make it a little bit bigger and stand out a little bit more. And then I'm going to change the text transform to capitalize. And that's pretty much just going to capitalize every first letter of each word. And I'm going to add a little bit of word spacing just because it looks a little cramped in there. So I'm going to do word spacing, and I'm going to do 3 pixels, right? So just add a little bit of space in between there. I don't want it to necessarily look like really pretty or anything like that, but I just want to have some information in there for our referencing as we style our web page. So in our containers class, I want to pretty much center this information. I don't want it too close to the top or the sides or anything like that. So I'm pretty sure you know what we're going to do. We're going to set the display to flex. We're going to align items in the center, and we're going to justify the content in the center. So I'm going to do display flex. I'm going to do justify content into the center, and then we're going to align items into the center and center this here. And I'm really only using these background colors to really see exactly what is going on around my margins and my padding and my borders and whatnot, because I want to get a really good sense of what exactly is happening on my web page. So next, what we're going to do is add 4 cards inside of our container number 2, and that's where we're going to put that image at, or those images at, or your proof of work, or whatever you want to add in there. By all means, you pick and choose. So what we're going to do is do cards, or I'm going to do the $sign, right? We're going to do an asterisk, and we're going to do the number 4, and then we're going to do another period, and we're going to say cards. So what we're going to do is save that. Obviously, we don't see anything there, but what we can do is container number 2, and we're going to set the display to, once again, flex. We're going to align items into the center, and instead of justifying the content to center, we're going to justify the content to space evenly. Next, we are going to go down, and we're going to do container 2, and we're going to say dot cards, because we're calling out the cards class, and we're going to style our cards. So we're going to style our cards with 200 pixels by a height of 200 pixels and a width of 200 pixels, and then I'm going to give them a background color of red just to see what we're looking at with styling. Save it. Boom, that looks really nice as it is spaced out pretty evenly. We can probably even up those to maybe 300 pixels just to see. That's a little too big, so we'll go down to 250 pixels and see how that sounds, or looks, I should say. And that looks pretty decent. We can do 250 pixels. So with that being said, we can remove that. And what we're going to do is we can do this one of 2 ways. We can add an image here and style it accordingly like this. Or, and I'll actually, let me continue to show. And what we can do is go to cards. So we can do container 2, cards, image, and then the images would be set to a height of 250 pixels and then a width of 250 pixels, and that will align that image properly inside of there like that. Or we can eliminate that, and we can eliminate that, And what I can do is, or what we can do is set card1 and give it a background, and we can find the URL, which would be our images folder, and then we can get image1 and we can set it like that. And the only issue with this is it's going to take a little bit more coding, because then we would have to set the background position to center, and then we would have to set the background size to a cover, and then it will fill up the whole entire card1 container as such. So I think it's best that we stick with the first option and we set container to cards image to a height of 250 pixels and a width of 250 pixels. We'll save it, and we will go here and do an image search, and we will search our images, and we're just going to add our 4 images into their respective containers. Go through, save those, and change the proper links. And if we go back to our web page, we'll see we have our 4 images here, and everything is still aligned pretty properly. So next thing that we want to do is add a little bit of animation to our images. So when we go to hover over our image, we pretty much want them to kind of pop out a little bit, not too much. All right, so what we're going to do is container2, and then we can do cards hover. So when we hover over it with our mouse, we can do a scale, because we want to change the scale to a 1.1 scale, and that's going to just pretty much add another 1/10 of the image's size to it once we hover over it. So if you see, it hovers and it scales just a little bit. Now if you want to get even more fancier, we can add a little bit of box shadow and a little bit of text shadow, so on and so forth. Now that we've completed this section with our main section and adding a little bit of flavor to our web page, let's go ahead and jump into video 4, where we can add some JavaScript to our web page and trigger a light and dark mode and go over some of our JavaScript fundamentals. See you in video 4.